Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to First Church, First Center in New York City. I'm Greg. This is our Thursday evening self-healing class, brought to you every week at 7 p.m. Many of you are watching it on a rebroadcast, I'm aware. We find that there's several hundred people listening to this class on different platforms, and we invite you to send a message to the center if you can be here for the Zoom calls, because there's some interaction. We usually have probably 10 minutes or more after every lesson we do, so we can hear from you. If you're new and you'd like to say hello, after the lesson, please do so. So welcome. So tonight's talk is about, excuse me, technicians. We have some new technicians here. Jimmy, would you please take care of that? Give us a moment, please. Everybody's microphone should be turned off while we're trying to do the lesson. Okay. Hold on a moment. Okay, gentlemen, are we ready? Okay, back to the lesson. Again, welcome. So we're now doing our Thursday classes and our Sunday classes as hybrid classes, and what that means is we're always going to be having a studio audience. We seem every week to be having more people come up, especially on Sundays. And we're having a new class, as Jimmy announced, beginning next Wednesday. It's a spiritual rap session. It's for the men. And then the Thursday class, of course, is for all of us, and Sunday. And we have something going on for the youth that's coming up very soon, as well as we're looking for to see if there's an interest in having a women's group. And there's another spiritual group we're entertaining to help people obtain jobs. So we have a lot of things going on at the center right now. The Thursday class is our oldest and ongoing class. It's the Louise class. It's based upon the book You Can Heal Your Life, which I'm holding in front of me. I'm sure most of you have seen it, you've heard of it, or you probably wouldn't be in this class. It's one of my favorite books because it fell in my hands in the late 1980s, and I have been, in one way, shape, or form, presenting this material every week ever since. Louise Hay had her start here at First Church. She took her classes here from Raymond Charles Barker, who was the founder, and if you're interested, in what we teach here, we have other classes. We will be having another class going on in October about spiritual roots. So you can ask us and inquire about that if you're interested. So let's move into the lesson. This lesson was a part of a seminar that I conducted a couple times before. I called it The Inner Reality, the Inner Picture. And some of you have heard parts of it in lessons. Many of us think in terms of abundance, right? And, as you get into new thought centers, we speak of spiritual abundance, we speak of financial abundance, because we live in a world of limitless good. A lot of you think in terms of getting your good from the outside. You think you're getting your good when you meet the right person, the right guy, the right woman, the right whatever it is. Or maybe for you it's your career. You'll see yourself being abundant, or your prayers answered when some things happen, where things change for you. Or sometimes you think when someone else changes, then you will be okay, right? And things will be okay. So we do have a little bit of a focus, many of us, on I will be okay when something happens or when someone shows up. And as you come into this teaching, or as you grow and grow up or you mature spiritually, we begin to understand that it doesn't really quite work that way. When we achieve some of these things, I can speak for myself, the fulfillment I thought I was going to get, it isn't there. You know, I remember wanting a certain kind of car, and I thought that would be great. And it was for a very short period of time. And then other things in my life, you know, milestones, goals. And there are things that are good, we strive towards them and we acquire them. And then many of us then realize, okay, well, I'm looking for more. And that's probably normal. We've also known people in our lives. We've been in relationships. We've had children or grandchildren, loved ones, love interests, where we've spent a lot of time and energy trying to help them and give them the best of what we have in the way of advice. And then we come to realize that people don't necessarily change when they don't show up the way we want them to. I don't know which minister it said. I think it was Barker who said people don't behave. And I found that to be true. They don't. And so as a therapist over the years, I would probably say in different groups, you know, be careful of your expectations. People don't necessarily behave. They don't do what you want them to do because people are individuals. They're going to do what they want to do. So that's all good, but there's a problem when we have expectations. And, you know, because when I have expectations or you have expectations about people, places, and things turning out a certain way, that's when we start to have discomfort and pain. I have a good friend who's in a family dynamic. I have a couple good friends who are in family dynamics, and I see that oftentimes I don't know if I want to say they're suffering, but they're very disappointed. And I would say, in both cases, as I think about it, I said, well, you're heading into all these interactions with expectations in every case. And if you choose to keep interacting with this group of people, that could be your loved ones, or it can be anybody, if you have a lot of expectations, I will try to find a way to politely say, you have a problem, you know, because if you're just able to give of yourself, whatever it is, your attention, your love, even your money, whatever it is, if you can give it freely without expecting anybody to do anything, then you're in the best spot because you're being a giver, and it feels good to give, right? And it's beautiful. It's just when you have an expectation that someone's going to reciprocate with anything, and they don't, then you'll start going into a story of what isn't fair and what they didn't do and how they didn't, you know, and that's, I mean, a lot of people do that, but it's a source of pain, and it's tied into having an attachment that someone's going to reciprocate or behave in a certain way. So I wanted to bring up the subject of attachments for a moment because it's been a part of many groups in my life, and I've had some very skilled spiritual teachers and facilitators, and I've listened to hours and hours of people talk about what really in the end turns out to be their attachments, which is I want what I want when I want it, and I expect certain things to be a certain way, and pay attention to that. And all I'm suggesting for any of us is when you give of your time, your talent, or whatever it is, your love, if you can do it without an expectation, you're the person who's going to be the free one. So you might want to notice this week what comes up in the way of an attachment. The goal of this course, like everything we teach here, is to live and move in greater freedom, right? And to have fewer attachments so we can move through our life with greater joy. You will have greater peace across the board and learn to heal our lives. You know, the name of this course is You Can Heal Your Life. As we learn to let go of another funny little word called our needs. As we pay attention to our needs. And that's an acronym that's used in many of the 12-step programs. I've been hearing it for over 40 years. It's not a particularly nice acronym either. It's our never-ending excessive demands. So if I have a lot of those, really, never-ending excessive demands, it's like, geez, I want everything to be this way. And I want this person to be this way. And I want the job, and I want the employer, and I'm a person who just wants everything to be the way I want things to be. Now you can imagine, if you're a person who has all these never-ending excessive demands, you most likely are going to have a lot of what? Disappointments. Your life will be full of disappointments. So, it's great to have goals and to plan plans, but you've heard the old adage, when you make plans, the universe laughs. Plans are good for helping us organize and create goals and move in a direction. But they turn into attachments when you become deeply ingrained in having to have things work out a certain way. So we want to think about these needs that we have. Are we showing up? So this is a class about self-healing. Are we showing up as a needy person? Are we showing up needing things to be a certain way? Are we demanding that people be a certain way? Louise would say, do you have a lot of, she used the word should. Do you have a lot of shoulds in your life? Because if you can imagine you're in a relationship with anybody, right? And all you're doing is telling them what they should do and how they should behave. First of all, they're going to want to run from you because it's very difficult for someone to be comfortable in another person's presence when they're always being told what they should do. And because in effect, it boils down to is whatever you're doing is not okay. So Louise thought that was one of the roughest words in the English language, and she wished it could be thrown away altogether. And she suggested we start using the word could when talking to other people. I might say to Joe, you could try this, or maybe you could try it another way, unless you have a better idea. That in sales is called a choice close. It's okay to lead people in a direction, but you really want to let them be in a place where they get to make the decision for themselves. And they will receive your information and your guidance a lot better. You'll be happier too. So those are a couple little suggestions tonight about taking a look at what are the parts of us, where we have these never-ending excessive demands, and really paying attention, in terms of what you expect of other people and the way we operate our attachments. In other words, do I expect people to reciprocate? Do I expect people to do this, that, and the other thing for me? To the extent you can live your life without these attachments, you're going to have a much happier life. So as we reflect on how we are and if we're doing any of this, you're going to realize that we can let go of a lot of these things. And the more you're able to let go of them, you're going to be feeling lighter and more free. Some of us have the need to have the last word. I'm sure you've known people like that if you're not that way yourself. It's like you're in a discussion and it just will never end because somebody has to be right. And once you realize you're in one of those discussions, you can find a way to agree and just exit the discussion. You can release the need to be right. After all, it's not terribly important. In the end, you have your opinion and someone else has their opinion, and you'll be in a better place if you can just release the need to be right and let them have their opinion. So that's another thing. We're not here to fix people or correct people. We're not here to correct people, places, and things. We operate always in a presence or with a principle that everyone is in the perfect place at the perfect time with the perfect understanding. So if you have a spiritual orientation, you're going to understand that in this spiritual universe you live in, order is, they'll say heaven's first law. So essentially what that will mean is everyone's really showing up with what they have at any moment in time. And as much as I know I need to grow and evolve personally, I've grown and evolved a lot already. I have more lessons to learn. And the thing I would know, if that's true for me, it's going to be true of everyone else. So if you get to a point of loving yourself and healing yourself, you're going to realize people are not always going to show up exactly as you would wish they would, but you're going to do a hands-off. You're going to realize this person, however they are, whatever they're doing, this is where they are. And they're really not soliciting my opinion, and I am going in there telling them how to run their life, do their life, fix their life, and it won't be received well. So just know that going in, right? It's entirely different. If somebody's coming to you and asking you your opinion or what you think or whatever, that's something I learned from a 12-step program in 1980. They said, let the hand of recovery be there when someone is reaching out for help. It doesn't say be there when, you want to correct them. It won't work that way. So we can learn from all of these different places. When our focus is on the outer and, the idea, I'll be okay when I get this job, this person, or when my marriage is better, and, when I'll be happy when I've lost the 20 pounds, I'll be happy when, if everything about what we're doing is I'll be okay in the future. Really what you're saying to yourself is you're not okay now. Or you're thinking you'll be satisfied when your boyfriend doesn't do this anymore, or when your child doesn't do that anymore. You got a lot of things going on that have to happen before you're going to be okay. So here's a little gift. You're never going to be okay if you're living your life that way. Because there will always be something that needs to change, right? If you're living your life that way. So we have a couple spiritual axioms stemming from the book You Can Heal Your Life. Louise Hay stated a simple statement that I think people take for granted. And it was this: all is well. She said, all is well. And she really meant that, and she believed it. It wasn't really a casual statement, but a statement of truth. Some of the greatest metaphysicians would have said it in maybe a more elegant way, but it would have been the same reality. All is well. You're living in a perfect spiritual system where everything is perfect. So when she said all is well, she was grounded in an understanding that we are all in the perfect place. We're all unfolding. Right now, you are in the perfect place for you, and you're learning and growing. And you've already learned so much. Each of you, myself, we all are spiritual beings, and we're all evolving, and we're learning more and more every day. You're in a process of unfolding. I'm in a process of unfolding. And we would benefit by remembering that we're always in the perfect place right now. We're in the perfect place at the perfect time. And we are in the perfect place at the perfect time all of the time. If you can remember to start every day off with some kind of a strong affirmative statement, it'll help you. When you affirm, I'm alive, hello, hello today. You can look in your mirror and say, I love you, accept you. If you get excited about you, right? Because you're this spiritual being, you have tremendous power. And if you wake up just thinking, oh my God, it's another day and I've got all these problems, then you're setting all of that in motion, and you don't have to do it that way. You could wake up with enthusiasm and say, I'm great, I'm in good shape today, I'm enough, I'm more than enough, and I'm equipped to successfully handle whatever I'm going to encounter today, and I'm looking to have a good day. Louise in her writings would say, thoughts are things, and we choose to think what we think. And that's true, though we don't realize, most of us, that we're choosing our thoughts, because a lot of our thoughts are very much habitual. We're just responding and responding and responding. And if you can slow that whole thing down a little bit and get a handle on that, then things will work better for you. Many of our automatic responses, would benefit by being interrupted or slowed down or stopped so we can choose again. Ernest Holmes, you all know, said, "There's power for good in the universe, and you can use the power. The fact is, you're using it with every thought you think. But if you're just like walking through your day, you're not even slightly conscious of what you're thinking and reacting to, then life is just going to keep playing out and playing out like an old tape, those habituated thoughts." So taking time in the morning, taking time in the evening, or taking time sometime, just finding a time to just take a pause and reflect. You could start by realizing who you are. You can realize, I am a son of, or I'm a daughter of the universe. I am one with the one, and life responds to me. Do something to wake yourself up and realize, okay, I am alive in God. I'm a part of God. I'm an individualization of God, and it responds to me. So it might be good to set your alarm to do that half a dozen times a day, because the thing is, we quickly forget who we are. And then we descend into this whole world of action and reaction, and you know how it goes. And then you tune in Thursdays or Sundays, and we will remind you. But you could do it more of it on your own, simply by having those moments in the morning. I'm fond of 12-step programs because usually they do it in the morning, they recommend, and they recommend in the evening. The evening you do a daily inventory. And all that really means before you fall asleep at night is you reflect on what your day was like. And you kind of like do it in such a way you, not to beat yourself up, but just like, okay, I kind of like missed it. I missed the mark a little bit here today. Or in some ways you'll say, hey, I really did a great job here today. So all of this is becoming a little bit more aware of how you're operating. Every Thursday we ask the question, what's it been like being you this week? Have your thoughts been uplifting and life-giving for the most part? So if you don't learn to harness some of this and you just let it keep on going the way it's going, then it's going to very predictably keep on being the way it's always been. So here's the invitation to begin to use the teaching. Find the time. There's no perfect time, meaning it can be in the morning, it can be in the afternoon, it can be at nighttime, or it could be, different points throughout the day where you can slow down and just, pay attention a little bit to what your thinking's been like. So some of these automatic responses can be interrupted, slowed down, and if you get good at this, you'll notice yourself. I always invoke Ronald Reagan for one thing, because he had this famous slogan, here you go again. So as soon as I find myself doing some type of spin on something, and then I could just say, okay, there you go again, Greg, and stop it. Neutralize it, turn it around, and tell yourself something that's true and positive. So as you do this, you get good at catching yourself. We can heal our lives by taking this pause, cancel some of these negative habitual thoughts, and replace them with thoughts that are a little bit more generous, a little bit more loving, and a little bit more kind. This is really what our teaching is about. The glossary in our textbook, when it speaks of affirmative prayer or treatment, speaks of the time, the art, and the method of getting rid of all that type of stuff. It actually says getting rid of the negation or the negativity that often dwells just beneath the surface. Because on the surface I can say, hey, all is well, but underneath is all this stuff, right? So the time, the art, the method of, just beginning to let go and release that stuff and replace it, neutralize it. So in addition to creating bigger goals for ourselves, we want to pay attention to the negatives that pop up into our awareness, or the things that come to the surface, and we want to deal with them, because if you really deal with it effectively, then they start to diminish and be gone, hopefully once and for all. These habituated thoughts can be thought of in different ways. Some say they're thought forms, and if they're working against you, when they, if you're treating and you're knowing that you're supplied and supported and you're healthy, and then something comes up that says, no, you're failing and your health is terrible, and if that stuff comes up, that's your glorious opportunity right then and there to neutralize that thought and get calm and quiet, and really, bring yourself to a point where you believe that there's a healing pattern within you that's healing in operation right now. So wherever these negatives come up, I look at them as like you're striking gold, because you're getting at the stuff that's underneath, and you have an opportunity to deal with it then, to neutralize it and replace it with a statement of truth. If you're preoccupied with a health issue in your consciousness, in your mind, and you've not been feeling well, if you can shift your thinking even a little bit to whatever health that you do have, if you can shift your thinking away from the problem, the pain, the situation, towards whatever you have in terms of health, it will be to your advantage to do so. You want to move from the idea of pain and dis-ease and direct your thinking and your knowing towards ideas of wholeness, and the realization that there's a perfect pattern of health, or there's a perfect pattern operating in whatever area of your body you're thinking of. And imagine and know that this pattern is functioning perfectly in this area of your body or in your entire body. So you're moving your attention away from the malady and toward the perfect pattern that is in you and operating through you. And the thing about that is, whatever the challenge is, you can do it with anything. We talk a lot about thoughts and thought forms here. Our life is a reflection of our thoughts, and we have power to use. And we use doctors too. We use good doctors. We use good medicine. But each of us have executive authority in our own life, which will draw us to the right health practitioners in the first place. And we cooperate and we use the power that we possess ourselves in our consciousness. We want to use our consciousness, we want to use our minds constructively. We don't want to be working against ourselves, right? So if we look at our experiences, we can realize that whatever is troubling or bothering us, it's only a thought we're having, okay? So you realize that. And so whatever it is, if you just sit down, take that pause, and think about it in a different way, it's only a thought I'm having, and a thought can always be changed. You have the power, if you choose to use it, to think about anything in a different way. You might have problems with people, and you're stuck in it. And you have a need to create them to be a bad guy or a good, whatever. You have the ability to turn that all around. We joke with you. We'll say, Shakespeare, you are writing the script. So you can create this person or this situation to be something better if you want to. We have the ability to write a better story. We have the ability to write a good story. And you can learn here, if you pay attention to your thinking, you can learn how to write a great story. I'm very fond of a few people that have given me some great lines over my life. One of them was an attorney who always used to say, her name was Deborah. She said, the final chapter has not been written. So it doesn't matter if you're 18 or you're 88. The final chapter has not been written. Okay, and for many of you who are much younger, you have many chapters to write, and you can write great ones. So the thing I'd like to say tonight is you can begin to do this right here, right now. It doesn't matter if your day has been rough all day long. You can resolve yourself to start your day over right now. The point of power is always where? It's in the present moment. So this class is to remind us that we can always write a new or better story at any time, any hour of the day. And again, the final chapter has not been written. So each of you have this creative power. So Ernest Holmes would say you have this enormous account downtown in some imaginary bank with your name on it. And you can learn how to draw the good from this account in any and every area of your life. You can rewrite the old stories. You can create yourself now to be the hero of your own story. You can write stories that would suggest, that you're wonderful and beautiful and capable of any good thing. You do not have to keep on playing out the same stories that I'm not good enough, I'm deficient, there's something wrong, there's something missing. So maybe, possibly, I'm sure a lot of us have bought into some of the opinions of our parents or the people who raised us, or our girlfriends, our boyfriends, our ex-husbands or wives, and we've bought into a lot of stuff, and we've done a lot of stuff probably that's not been too swift. But the thing is, to carry that with you in your day-to-day living and make that your reality is really such a sad thing. So I hope we all release the need today and tonight for all of that, so we can be free and be in a new moment. And in the final analysis, since all healing is self-healing, it's the opinion you hold of yourself that matters most. So today the invitation is to write a different kind of a story and realize you have the power to create a different kind of reality. And as we create this story, this picture, with more expansive ideas, we will literally be stepping into a different world. So Emerson always said, hitch your wagon to a star. He was suggesting, think big thoughts about yourself and surround yourself with very encouraging people and have the wisdom to read. And today you can do it on YouTube. Contemplate big ideas so you can step into bigger worlds. Have enough common sense to step out of the circumstances and the arenas where people are always attempting to, like the crabs in the barrel, tear you down. Think of yourself well enough to step out of that so you can step into a larger world. If you do that, if you do what you've heard, what the mind can see and believe it will achieve, it will draw you right into a greater experience. All of us have this power that's amazing at our disposal that Ernest Holmes spoke of, and so did Louise Hay. When I was younger, I was drawn into this teaching, though I didn't know about the science of mind yet. And I knew what the mind can see and believe it would achieve. I already knew that by the time I was a teenager. I didn't fully understand the magnitude of that idea, or that I could be the cause to my own experience. And certainly I didn't know that I could heal my life. That came some years later. But that idea was kindled in me even as a teenager. You can, from this teaching, you can heal conditions in your life, even things that looked impossible. In other words, the stuff that's in your life right now that seems broken or seems pretty tough, you can really make a lot of progress in any of these areas that seem impossible. We don't think in terms of impossible, we don't think in terms of incurable, we don't think in terms of lost causes, because we understand you are an individualization of God life, and with you in connection with this source, all things are possible. Sometimes it's difficult to believe, because I've had enough students over the years who say things to me like, Greg, you don't understand how bad it is, and you don't understand what I'm facing, and you don't understand. And I don't always understand everything, right? But I do understand how the law works. So I've listened to many, and like Louise Hay said, she said she's listened to thousands, and she said when it comes down to the final thing, she said there's always this belief inside that I'm not okay, and things won't be okay, and all of that. And so you want to heal that. She worked as a practitioner, and she heard situations where people were in really dire circumstances. And the very research for her book, You Can Heal Your Life, was done right here at our first church in New York. So she would talk about probable causes in her book, and she wrote her notes about the things that she thought that were impacting the person, and she would do affirmative prayer for people. So that's what we do. Your thoughts are things. The rest of this would be the subject of an extended afternoon lecture.